This is a short and sweet upper body strength session designed to support your menstrual phase. This is that bridge between cycles where we see a sharp decline in hormones, we see the rise of inflammation, and it is an invitation to kind of change the way that we train. So we turn the intensity way down. We're operating at about 50% of our max exertion. We're moving slowly in a controlled way to really tap into that body awareness, that mind-muscle connection that can be so supportive during this transition time, which some women experience as kind of physically and emotionally turbulent. So just a quick anecdote from my own practice. There was a time in my relationship with exercise where a workout like this would have felt like, what's the point? Why did I show up? It wasn't intense. It wasn't super sweaty. I would feel like it didn't count. And it's embarrassing now for me to even share that I was kind of, my mindset was so off course that I wouldn't even want to show up to something like this. I would rather skip it altogether than not go all out. And it's that all or nothing mindset that can sort of get us into this cycle of burnout. So I encourage you to really learn to love this lower intensity mode and learn to really appreciate what it has to offer. So after adopting more of a cyclical fitness practice, I've started to appreciate this lower training mode for what it gives to the rest of my workout practice. So you can really refine movement patterns that you might visit all the time. You start to kind of learn something new when you have lighter weight, when you have more focus. This menstrual phase is a time where we have less hormone interference. So our high hormones drop off quickly, and that can be a little turbulent, but there's less hormones in circulation. So we have this clearer connection between left and right brain. It's a time where we're kind of naturally more analytical, and it can really help us learn and appreciate more about the practice. So today you're using lighter weights. I'm just using a set of 10-pound dumbbells throughout. You really have to put in more effort to get the most out of each rep. So you have to focus on really recruiting the musculature that we're working in each exercise. You have to be present the entire time. Otherwise, it's true, you may not feel much from this workout. So it's up to you to tune in and to really tap into this lower intensity mode as a working mode. The goal here is that we are clearing anything that's feeling stuck. We're facilitating that process of menstruation by improving our circulation, by tapping into endorphins so that we can move into the next cycle with some energy in reserve to really put that work into our next building phase. This one has 7 exercises. We're completing them in 3 rounds of 40 seconds of work, 20 seconds of rest. So we've got 20 minutes of the workout portion. You add your 5-minute warm up, your 5-minute cool down. We come right in around the 30-minute mark. So now let's get started. Let's go ahead and get our upper body warmed up for some strength training. Go ahead and stand in a comfortable place on your mat. Feet are about hips width distance apart. We're going to inhale, take the arms up and overhead. And then as you exhale, side bend to one side. Take your bottom hand, press those hips in the opposite direction. You might take your top hand behind your head, press your head into your hand, feel the shoulders open. Soften the shoulders away from the ears. Big breath in here, reach up through center. Let's switch to the other side. Lean up and over. Again, option here to take that top hand behind the head. Really feel both feet rooting down evenly into the ground. Then as you inhale, come up through center. We're going to alternate with a twist and a lat pull. So twist, bring the elbows down towards your ribs. Inhale, come through center. Exhale, twist and pull. I want you to make sure that you're keeping your hips facing straight forward. You're getting that thoracic spine mobility so that upper back is rotating independently. Inhale and exhale. Really feeling the full range of motion in the shoulders here. Start to tone the belly a little bit, drawing the hip bones up toward the low ribs. Last one here, reach up. This time, take opposite elbows at your lower back behind you and simply circle the neck. So feel that stretch in the shoulders one direction and then the other. Just creating a lot of space here, starting that nice open quality in the neck from the beginning in our upper body practice. Here for just a few more breaths, you can start to travel to the back of your mat. Feel the upper back kind of lengthen and open. Then from here, start to reach the arms up overhead. Inhale. As you exhale, take your hands down, walk out. Gentle push up, either knees up or knees down. Walk the hands back, take the arms overhead, reach up. Inhale. Exhale, walk it out. Push up, knees up or knees down. Feel that chest come alive here. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, walk it out. Last one. And then from here, I want you to transition to a downward dog. We're simply going to move from downward dog and then inhale, take the knees down, soften the belly, cow pose, shine the sitting bones back. Exhale, follow that wave of the spine all the way through downward dog and inhale, cow pose, stretch the spine. Exhale, take a few more rounds using your breath, really feeling that undulation in the bones of the spine, that you can move them each independently. Last downward dog here. Then as you inhale, come to tabletop. Reach your right arm forward, left leg back. Square the hips, square the shoulders. And as you exhale, bring the knee in, elbow back. Inhale, reach. Exhale, draw those two limbs closer together and keep them in parallel tracks. So you're bringing that left knee to the left elbow. You're bringing your right elbow toward your right hip. Try not to let the shoulders or the hips twist. Starting to wake up the core here and switch. Left arm forward, right leg back. Exhale, hug it in. Start to feel a little bit of heat as you lengthen the breath. Really connecting to your inhales and exhales, trying to match the cadence. Last rep here, inhale, reach, and exhale, pull it in. Come back to tabletop, bring your right hand behind your head, open the elbow nice and wide, keep the hips square, and then exhale, wrap your elbow under. More of that T-spine release, so the upper back moves independent of the pelvis, so we can rotate the rib cage on its own. A lot of times those two structures in our body get a little bit frozen together, where we're moving hips and rib cage as a unit, but I want you to really feel that they can move independently here. Let's switch sides. Left hand behind the head. Open that left elbow nice and wide and exhale, wrap it under. Inhale, reach, broaden across the heart, and exhale, wrap it in. You might even feel some cracks and little sounds happening in the bones of the spine here. Big breath in and slow breath out. Really reaching. We have one more exercise after this. Let's walk the hands out, come into your plank position. And then I want you to refine it. So feel all 10 finger pads spreading and pressing down. And I want you to hug the heels of the hands and the ball mounds of the feet together. As you do that, keep that coiling in the low belly, hip points toward the low ribs, and then stretch your heart forward. Keep the back of the neck nice and long, and then continue that iterative process of refinement. So we press down, and then we hug in, stretch forward. You got this. 2, 1, step your feet to your hands. Nice and easy. Let's roll up bone by bone all the way to standing. Take a huge breath in and sigh it out. That is your upper body warm up. Hopefully you're feeling that little bit of heat and you're ready to move into your strength work next. Welcome to your upper body strength session designed to carry you through your premenstrual and menstrual phases. In this practice, we have 7 exercises. We're working 40 seconds of work, slow and steady, with 20 seconds to transition and recover. Our first movement pattern is going to be an alternating chest press from a glute bridge. So you can go ahead and start making your way down onto the mat. I will get our timer going here. We've got 20 seconds to set up before our first second interval begins. So I want you to come onto your back, hug your heels toward your sitting bones, lift your hips up into a bridge. So this is your starting position. You're going to have the arms up, wrists are nice and neutral, directly over the nipple line. And then we're just going to alternate sides. So we'll move in 3, 2, 1, take it down nice and slow. I really want you to feel the time under tension. This should be pretty lightweight for your chest press. So you really have to work to feel the muscle connection to recruit those chest muscles. So I want you to move nice and slow on the way down, and then feel that big push, really squeeze like you're trying to connect the ends of the dumbbell. Maybe you even make that contact to get that extra squeeze at the top. And breathe here. Keep the belly nice and integrated, so we're hugging hip points toward the low ribs. And rest. We're going to slowly come up. Be mindful as you transition here, because you may be more likely to get lightheaded. So we're coming into our half kneeling curl to press. So you are moving the same arm as your back knee. We're simply going to curl, press it overhead with that rotation, and then slowly lower back to the starting position. Curl, squeeze the bicep, rotate to come up and all the way down. So I'll show it from the front so that you can see that rotation. And then we lower it slowly down. Really want you to firmly press into that back knee, so you have that core stabilization, spine stays straight and strong the entire way through. Breathe in and out through the nose, nice and easy. So we are in a low intensity training mode for today. That means you're connecting to the breath, switch sides, but shouldn't be labored by any means. We're at around 50% of our max effort. So something that feels very sustainable that you could continue for a long period of time. We've got just over 5 seconds. We'll start on the second side. Let's begin in 2, 1. So we curl it up, rotate. It's like that half Arnold press, and then slowly lower down. If that shoulder descent, so that lowering phase is too much, you can always lower the weight or kind of bend the elbow a little bit more to come out of that overhead press. But we should be working with light enough weights in the menstrual phase that you can manage that shoulder lowering, that articulation and kind of isolation work in the shoulder without it becoming too much. Squeeze, press it overhead, and release. Coming into your tabletop next for a alternating row to a tricep extension. I want you to make sure that your knees are directly under the hips, so avoid the hips dipping back behind the knees or being too far forward, more like a half plank. I want this to be tabletop. Shoulders are over the wrists. We're going to lift one elbow back, extend the arm, squeeze the tricep, and come back down. Brace the belly with each time so that your shoulders and your hips stay perfectly square. Squeeze it up, extend, and back down. So your chest might want to rotate open, your hips might want to dip, but I want you to stay in that level plane through the entire interval. Squeeze and back down. Really keep the elbows hugging into the midline. That'll help keep this work where we want it, which is in the lats and the back and out of the shoulders. Rest, shake it out. Coming into our side plank pull next. So for this one, you only need a single dumbbell. You can be on the forearm with the elbow under the shoulder, or you can be in full side plank where the wrist is slightly forward of the shoulder. We're going to stack the hips and the shoulders, and then we pull that weight up. So we pull, extend, and then you have the option of lowering with the arms straight. Alternatively, you can just come back down the way you come in, or you're doing that slow lower to get some core activation and more work in the back and shoulders. If you are working through that lowering phase, I want you to slow it down as much as you can. So resist gravity there. With your supporting hand, make sure you're pressing through the finger pads so you're not leaving too much weight into the wrists. And rest. We'll switch sides now. So again, if you have wrist sensitivities or it becomes too much with added weight, you can always come into that forearm position. We'll go in just about 5 more seconds here. Bring your shoulders into that stacked position, hips are stacked, and let's begin. Pull it up, extend, and slow lower. So again, the weight should be light enough that you can manage that lowering phase with control and without excessive strain. But if you start to feel it pulling on your back or your shoulder, you can take that part out or go to a lower weight range. We pull it up so that elbow stays close to the body, and then we reach it far away. So we're near the center line, and then we create that lever arm to activate the core. And rest. Final exercise of this first round is alternating table reverse fly. So we're coming back into that tabletop position, and you're simply going to take the arm out to the side, elbow stays slightly bent. We're targeting the back here. And let's begin. Open to the side and back down. This is one where that tendency of the shoulders to want to rotate or the hips to want to rotate is part of this exercise. So it's an anti-rotation exercise where not only are we targeting the back with that primary movement, but we have the stabilization effort, the anti-rotation effort that is activating the core. So I want you to feel that magnetizing force between hip points and low ribs, that you're trying to shorten that gap. Last one. That is our first round already underway. We're going to come onto the back into that bridge position for alternating chest press once again. If you need to, you can go to both hands together if you weren't really feeling that last round. But I like the asymmetrical loading that can happen when we move one arm at a time. Let's begin. Nice and slow. See if you can create a little bit of an arch in the upper back as you come down to get more space, and then push that upper back into the floor as you straighten the arm. So we inhale, inflate the upper ribs, and then exhale, press the back down. So it's not happening in the lower ribs. We're not flaring or arching the lower back, but we're creating this mobility in the thoracic spine to give us more depth, more range of motion for that press with this lighter weight. Last one. Excellent job. Switching back to our half kneeling position next. So take your time. Again, we have lower blood plasma volume during this time in the cycle, so the heart has to work a little bit harder to pump thicker blood to your extremities, which can just mean that you might get lightheaded more easily. Let's take it up, around, and down. So it's not necessarily something you have to be concerned about, but you can just accommodate that physiological shift in the luteal phase by taking more time to transition, especially when you're going from your back to more of an upright position, or say you're in a quadruped and then you switch to standing. Today's practice is nice because we're staying close to the ground the whole time, but we can still take our time as we transition between these different body positions. Slow lower and switch. So we'll take the other knee back. I'm holding both dumbbells. If it gets to be too much, you can always drop the one of the non-working side. You've got that back shin pressing down, palm turns to face away from you. That really helps us isolate the bicep. We'll move in 3, 2, 1. Squeeze it up, rotate nice and slow as you come down. Try to avoid leaning away from that weight. And that's your body just naturally wanting to make it easier on the shoulders. Instead, we want the shoulders to really do the work here. Shoulders and back, squeeze, and overhead. Nice and slow, lowering down, and reach. So this is our second of 3 rounds. Should feel nice and easy. You might feel a little bit of heat, but won't be your sweatiest session, and that is okay. This is a different mode of training, rest. Coming into our tabletop row with a tricep extension next. Or tricep kickback, excuse me. We'll move in 10 seconds. So I really want you to appreciate what this training mode has to give. You can sort of experiment with new movement patterns. Let's begin. You can refine existing movement patterns that you do all the time, especially in this tabletop position with asymmetrical loading. It teaches you how to really recruit the core engagement to stabilize that you can then use in your heavier lifts. You can carry this into other parts of your practice. So there's lots of information gathering to be done in this phase. We tend to have kind of lower hormone interference between left and right brain. So it's a great time to experiment with unilateral movement, letting each side work independently. And it's a great time to kind of have that more analytical approach to your practice where you can learn how to improve on these different movement mechanics. Side plank pull is next. Again, take the option to the forearm if you need it. Let's begin. We pull, extend, and then slowly lower down. Nice and easy. Pull, reach, and take that weight out at a distance. Make sure you're not letting the hips or shoulders rotate, so you've got that stacked position the whole time. I want you to feel your shoulder blades like two palms pressing the upper back, so they stay in that kind of active positioning where they're not necessarily, I don't want you to force the squeeze that we sometimes are told to do. Instead, I want you to feel that kind of press of the shoulder blades onto the back. It's more integrated. And rest. Switching sides. Side plank on side 2. Come into position. And then we're rounding up on our second set here. We'll go in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Pull that elbow up, reach the arm, and take it down. You can always, if this is too much, you can bring it on the knees. It's a great place to work, especially if you are new to this practice or just need that little bit of extra support. If you're feeling any strain in the lower back or the side waist, that knees down option is always a great one. Pull it up, reach, and slow lower. So we are working in that 50% range. So you might start to feel some of that cumulative effort rest over these 3 rounds. That one, I was starting to feel it in my back a little bit, but more from kind of that slow arc of the practice. So it's less intense. It's less about creating that strong stimulus and more about that slow and steady pace. Reverse table fly is next. We take it out to the side, slow and controlled. Bring it back down and back to center. So I want you to feel the engagement in the belly here. Make sure that your knees aren't too wide apart. So you want them more at a hips width stance, maybe even a little bit narrower to shoulder width, so that you're not missing out on the opportunity for core integration. When we have the knees too wide, we sort of take out some of that. It can compromise the position in the lower back. And rest. Just like that, we're at the top of round 3. We have just 7 minutes to go. Lower down onto your back. Get ready for that chest press once again. So here I really want you to feel the mobility in the upper back. So I want you to almost inflate the chest and then press it down into the floor. Let's begin now. Alternating sides if you wish. I really like this for the core element when we have that asymmetrical load. So in this menstrual phase practice, we've dropped the weight anywhere from 20 to 30% of where you might be in your follicular phase. So it should feel very sustainable, and I want that to be an invitation to really pay closer attention, to recruit mind-muscle connection so that you are feeling the work even with this lighter weight. So it's a little bit more of a conscious effort, because when you have heavy weights, there's not really any way around it. It's hard no matter how you slice it. With the lighter weights, you actually have to work for the sensation. So I want you to experience that difference in this premenstrual and menstrual phase. Let's take it up and slow lower down. Squeeze the bicep at the top, rotate it overhead, and then slowly come back to that starting position. This is our final round. So you should be feeling that nice circulation flow. So you're breathing maybe just a little bit heavier. Maybe you've got a little bit of a flush, kind of that heat wave, but it's not excessive. So the goal is you might walk off your mat feeling just a little bit more energized, but not wrung out by any means. You have energy left to spare. We're not competing for resources with your other reproductive priorities or menstruation. Rest. Because it takes an impressive, really dramatic hormone change to make menstruation happen. It brings inflammation online, all these processes that facilitate your period. So it's energetically demanding. 3, 2, 1. And that's part of the reason that you feel kind of this pull inward. You have less outbound energy because there's a lot happening inside. So we reflect that in our movement practice by slowing the pace, by decreasing the intensity, and turning up the intention, turning up that inner awareness. It's this idea of proprioception, where we understand and really become attuned to where our bodies are in space, to how they move, to that connection between the inner and outer worlds. It's available to us in a big way during this transition phase. Coming into your row with a tricep kickback next, find that strong tabletop. And I want you to experience tabletop right from the beginning is a core exercise. So you can be here, you can be totally checked out, or you can start to hug the hip bones toward the low ribs and activate so that you have that bonus core work happening for this entire interval. Not only is it stabilizing the movement, but it's helping you create that muscle memory in the deeper layers of the abdominals, so your transverse abdominis, the internal obliques, all of these structures that can get a little bit sleepy when underutilized. So taking simple movements like your row into a quadruped position, into your tabletop position, can be a great way to bring those deeper structures back online. And rest. Coming into your side plank next. So I'm going to take the forearm option here, feeling a little bit of wrist sensitivity. So not wanting to push it. This is that practice of listening and not overriding what the body is telling us. Still have the same option for the upper arm. Just slightly less space. So you might have to pull at a little bit of an angle to get that weight up and over. But you have if you're on your forearm, your elbows under the shoulder, you've got hips and shoulders stacked. I can almost feel this more in those inner structures that we were talking about in the core. So the internal obliques, definitely feeling those by taking the forearm down. It gives us a little more direct access to those deep abdominals. And rest. We'll switch sides. I'm going to do the same on this side for the forearm alignment. So we've got about 10 seconds left of rest, and then just one exercise left, and you have completed your upper body practice. I feel like the menstrual phase work is so important to help keep us consistent, to help us find kind of a different mode of operation. So a different way of approaching our workouts helps us kind of continue to look forward to them. So you're not dreading these super intense or super sweaty strength sessions when that might be the furthest thing from something you want to do during your period. Instead, we tone it down. We're focusing more on just clearing stagnation, on facilitating circulation to improve your period for happier periods. Let's come down. And it can also help in that premenstrual phase. So if your period's slow to start, or you're feeling kind of stuck in that late luteal territory, these slow, gentle workouts can help. Let's begin. Can help facilitate that movement, that progression to the next cycle. So again, shoulders nice and even. Resist the urge to swing that weight. I know reverse flies, for some reason, I always kind of have to pay attention to slow and controlled movement instead of swinging. Really recruit the back muscles here. Again, remember that palm, that shoulder blade as a palm pressing onto the back. Last one. And rest. You can clear your weights. Take just a few shimmies and shakes here, maybe walk out to a puppy pose just briefly. And then slowly step the feet to the hands. I want you to take your hands to your knees, find the halfway point. Again, maybe just lengthening the sides of the waist. And then bone by bone, we roll up nice and easy all the way to standing. Let's take a huge breath in and a slow breath out. That is your upper body workout for today. I hope it has just sort of awakened the musculature of the upper body, has helped you feel like you can walk a little bit more confidently, more upright through the world with your day. I want to thank you for joining me, and now you can move into your cool down. You have just completed your upper body strength session, and now it is time to cool down. So when you're ready, make your way down to a tabletop, nice and slow. We'll bring the wrists under the shoulders, knees under the hips, simple cat and cow. Let's inhale, soften the belly, stretch the spine, shine the sitting bones back. Exhale, follow the wave, ripple it from the tailbone all the way to the crown of the head. And just be in this flow for several breaths. Inhale. And exhale. Really feeling all the places where you've experienced the work of your practice. And trying to free any tension that might still be lingering around here. Next, I want you to open that right arm nice and tall, stretch the fingertips toward the ceiling, and thread that arm under. Bring your right ear temple to the mat. Press your left fingertips down, rotate the left shoulder open. So here, hips are staying nice and fixed. We're letting the rib cage wrap around the axis of the spine, stretching the upper back, the shoulder blade. And then we'll slowly exchange. Bring the right hand down. Inhale, left arm stretches skyward. Thread it under. Bring that left ear or temple to the mat. Spider your right fingertips to give a little bit more leverage, a little bit more of that rotation. And press the back of your left hand down. Draw the upper left arm in the opposite direction. Again, hips stay pretty fixed here. So the rotation is happening in the upper back. And we'll slowly unfold. Let's come into kind of a tripod shape with the arms. So press the palms together. And then just puppy pose here. So soften heart, belly, chest toward the floor. Really feel that stretch under the armpits, maybe even the triceps. So you're pressing the pinky side of the hand, forearms down. You can even start to round the upper back just a little bit. And then again, soften heart, belly, chest toward the thighs. We'll be here just a breath or two more. And then we'll slowly come up to our kneeling position. Take your right arm under, left arm over for eagle arms. You can always take opposite shoulders if wrapping is too much. Then we're simply going to lift up and down with the elbows. Nice and easy here. We'll have 30 seconds on each side just to really stretch the triceps, the shoulders, the upper back. Last one. Then open, stretch across the chest nice and wide, and switch. So left arm under, right arm over. Now we're reaching those elbows up and back down. And even as you reach up, try not to shrug the shoulders. So you're keeping those shoulders nice and relaxed away from the ears. Just really feel that mobilization of the shoulder blades here. Last couple of breaths. And then you can stay in this kneeling position or lower hips to the heels or come into a cross-legged position. We're going to take the hands behind the head, and I want you to lift up sort of at the base of the skull here, the occipital ridge, really lengthen the neck, and then slowly bring your chin toward your chest. So you're not really pulling the head down. We're just lifting it up, giving that little bit of extra assistance with the hands and lowering down. Last one like this. And then release. I want you to take your hands to the right side of your chest, the collarbone. Draw down on the collarbone and then bring your left ear toward your left shoulder. This should feel really good. Lift your chin forward and back like you're shaking your head yes. So this is a really great stretch for switch sides for your upper body days to make sure that you're not taking any tension away in your neck and shoulders. Last big breath here. And then we're going to come into a seated position. Knees are bent. Take your left hand back, reach your right arm up and lift the hips. Feel that stretch in the front body and switch sides. So I want you to keep your bottom hand, fingers are facing back, and we're just alternating this lift and stretch. You should feel that across the chest and the front body here. Last one. And then to your seated position, nice generous bend in the knees. Let's cross at the wrists, find opposite feet, and then push your feet into your hands as you gently pull back on your feet. So you feel that stretch in the upper back, broadening across the shoulder blades. You can tuck the chin into the chest if you like. Just really kind of freeing and letting go of any residual holding or tension in the back and shoulders here. And then we slowly come up. Let's cross at the ankles or just transition in your own way from that seated position to your forward bend. And roll up nice and easy, bone by bone. Give your shoulders a bit of a circle. Just make sure there's not any little areas of tension that are holding on. Let's enjoy a huge breath in and a slow breath out. That is your very quickest cool down for the upper body. If you have more time to spend in each of these stretches, you might run through the cool down once again, or just stay a few extra minutes to show your upper body some love. It worked hard today to support you, and now you have to give it that opportunity to cool down. So I want to thank you so much for showing up for your practice, for staying for your cool down to support your recovery, which is such an integral part of your workout and movement practice. Thank you for being here and for letting your body be moved.